Welcome to Wizard's video on getting started with multiple openings. Mat Designer has many options for adding openings and arranging them. An understanding of the tools will help these projects be a real asset for your shop. We'll begin with a few different ways to add openings to the layout. Click New Mat Design, and the New Opening screen opens. Across the top, there are three tabs: Single, Multi, and Array. Let's begin with Array. Array is a pretty impressive tool for arranging a group of identical items. We'll do something very simple. We'll just line up three openings, but experiment on your own to see what it's like when you do, say, 24 openings. Every time in Mat Designer it asks for a size, check out this Sizes button where you can put in a standard size just with one click. Here we are with a 5x7 opening. We want 3 though, so in the Number of Openings field, type 3. And you see that they all pop in a tidy arrangement of some description. Tab down, and instead of 2 columns, I want 3 columns. Instead of 2 rows, I want just 1 row. You see the design take shape. I want everybody to see that the spacing is available to be changed differently, horizontally and vertically. So I will make the horizontal spacing 3/4 of an inch. And the last thing I want to do to fashion this array is to change the reveals from 1/4 of an inch to just a little less than 1/4 of an inch. And you should be able to see that what you do to one opening, you do to them all. They're identical openings. The real advantage of the Array tab, though, is that it includes a system for arranging and spacing the openings. Now, another way to get an array of openings into the field of play is with the Multi-tab. With the Multi-tab, all the openings can be different sizes, though. So let's put a few in here. In the width, let's type in 7, hit the Tab key, 5, and then click Add New Opening. And you can see in the Current Openings field below it appears, and there is a thumbnail on the right. I'll highlight the number field right here. It says 1 right now. Let me type in 2, and boom, there are 2 openings. I want to add some more openings, so I'll add a 5x3.5. Click Add New Opening, and you can see the third opening comes in there. The Multi-tab is a great way to get a number of different size openings into the layout all at once. The arrangement will doubtless need to be refined a little bit here, so click OK, and we send it into the edit screen for its final refining. So you can see that all 3 openings are selected and they move as a unit. You can tell that because there are these square boxes at every corner. In order to deselect the group, what I need to do is click in the blue to deselect the group, and now I can begin the final layout by moving the openings roughly into their final resting positions. Under the Alignment tab, you can see that we have some spacing and some aligning options. Before the buttons come alive, though, we need to select all the openings. So begin by selecting one opening, hold the Shift key, and select the others one by one. And now you can see that the spacing buttons come alive and the aligning buttons come alive. The spacing buttons are pretty self-explanatory. The aligning buttons are a bit of an enigma, but as you can see, they're animated, and a tooltip pops up that lets you know what they do. So this middle button here is the one that aligns the openings to the center for vertical columns. So click it, and boom, their centers are lined up. Just so you know, the bottom row helps us deal with horizontal rows of openings. The last item on the agenda is to space them vertically, and I'll type in 0.7, just a little bit less than 3/4 of an inch, and when I click the Space Vertically button, they are 0.7 inches apart as measured on the top layer. Now, the reason that I know that they're measured on the top layer is because the positioning button, the bottom button on the toggles on the right, is pointing up. If it was pointing down, it would reference the bottom layer. It would be 0.7 inches as measured on the bottom layer. But it's handier to have the positioning button pointing up, referencing the top layer. Now, the last piece of the puzzle in order to finish the design, whether you begin the design in the Multi-tab or whether you begin it in the Array tab, is to finalize the borders and have the program calculate the outside size of the design. So I'm going to click Dynamic Outsides in order to do that. Dynamic Outsides is the feature that builds the specified borders around whatever array of openings you have. And as you make changes, the outside size will be constantly changing. Let me turn on the toggle over here. You can see that the outside size changed. And as you can see, if you move things around with Dynamic Outsides on, the outside size is always changing. Just so you know, there's an undo button here that puts things back the way they were a step ago. The last bit of the puzzle is to select the guides and go to the Properties tab. And as I am changing the sizes of the borders, you can see that the outside size is changing, and I've got the borders the way that I want them, and the design is finished. Once again, whether this design began using the Array tab or whether it began using the Multi-tab, when it's ready to cut, you just click the Cut Mat button at the upper right-hand corner of the screen under Tools, and the mat will go to the Cutting Preview screen. The last example I'm going to show you involves the use of guides. Guides are the vertical and horizontal red lines. They are portable snap points. The edges and the centers of openings snap to them. We'll begin this project on the Single tab of the New Opening screen. Let's enter an opening 7 by 11, and let's take the opportunity to specify the borders here. I want them 3 inches all the way around and 3 1/4 on the bottom. Hit the Tab key. It draws me a picture of what is in the design so far. I click OK to send it to the editing screen, and I'll add more openings here in the editing screen. I want this to serve as an example to everyone that in Mat Designer you are seldom much more than a click or two away from being able to add more openings at any point. So here we are on the editing screen under the Openings tab. You see the template selection, and I'm going to click the rectangle icon once. Twice, I have just added 2 rectangular openings here. I'm going to go to the Properties tab, and I'll make the bottom one 3 by 3. I'll make this top one 5 by 3 1/2, and I'll click Dynamic Outsides just for a minute in order to get a little bit of room to work, and turn it off and put the small openings on the right close to where I want them. Now, in order to bring guidelines into the field of play, you move the cursor to the yellow rule along the outside, and you can see that the cursor turns into a cross of red arrows. So when you click, a guide forms, and you can drag in as many vertical and horizontal guides as you like. In order to get rid of them, the easiest way is to just pull them out of the field of play. By far the best way to bring a guide in is with respect to an opening. Let me show you what I mean by that. I want to make this opening on the right 3/4 of an inch from the large opening on the left. So I will right-click on the opening on the left, and from the menu that pops up, the bottom 2 choices are New Vertical Guide and New Horizontal Guide. Select New Vertical Guide and select Other from the menu that pops up after that. And it asks you how far would you like it from the left, and I want it 0.75 inches from the right. So when I click OK, you can see that the guide appears. So I can snap the opening on the right into place. Now I want the top of this opening on the right 1 1/4 inches down from the top of the opening on the left. Right-click again on the opening on the left, this time New Horizontal Guide, Other, distance from the top, -1.25. Click OK, the guide appears, and all I have to do is snap the opening on the right into place. Now I want to center the small opening on the right underneath the large opening on the right. Right-click on the top opening on the right, New Vertical Guide, Middle, boom, there it is. Snap the small opening into place. The last bit of the layout is I want the small opening 3/4 of an inch away from the opening on the top. So right-click on the opening on the top again. New Horizontal Guide, Other, distance from the bottom 0.75. Click OK. The guide appears, and I can snap this into position. The last piece of the puzzle. Activate Dynamic Outsides. It automatically calculates the outside size, and the mat is ready to cut. Certainly, this project could have been done using the alignment buttons. When you use the guides, though, you are in control of which items move. When you use the alignment buttons, very often the left and the bottom items remain in place, and the top and the right openings change positions. And often, this is less than ideal. Some framers like the control they get from using guides. No matter what your multiple opening layout looks like, no matter what tools you choose to use, Mat Designer will help you design great things easily. If you would like more ideas about designing multiple opening mats, check out our webinar, Multiple Opening Mats, Tips, Tricks, and Great Design. Find it at wizardint.com. It's in our education section under classes. Thank you.